Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Mr. M's Majestic Mathematics class, and thanks for joining me today on this beautiful sunny day, as you can see, where you should be outside playing with your friends and enjoying your day, but instead you're going to be in here watching my math class. I apologize, but I will keep it as brief as possible. I promise you this will take less than 10 minutes, and then you can get outside and enjoy the nice fall weather and have fun with your friends. So, what do you say we get started? Today's lesson is about solving equations with variables. Example is 20 minus 4x equals 6. We're not going to get quite to that extent today. We're just going to start touching base on how to solve equations with variables. So, let's jump right in. What do you say, guys? But first, let's define variables. I know definitions. This is the only definition I'm going to give you today, I promise. What is a variable? A variable is a letter that takes the place of an unknown or non-specified number. So, in this equation at the bottom, this example equation, you have 2 plus x equals 6. Now, all that x is a placeholder, because it's essentially a question mark. 2 plus what equals 6 is what that equation is asking. We have to find what x is. So, obviously x would be 4 in that equation. 2 plus 4 equals 6. So all the variable is, it can be x, y, z, a, b, it can be whatever letter you want, as long as it's a placeholder for a value that we do not know yet. So, let's jump right into an example problem. What do you say, guys? Let's get started. 15 plus x equals 35. So in this scenario, we have 15 being added to some number that we don't know in order to get 35. 15 plus blank equals 35. So we have to try to get x alone. X needs to be on one side of the equation with nothing else on the same side as it. Alright? So in order to do that, we're going to subtract 15 from each side. That's the important part. You have to subtract it from each side. Well, you can't just make an equation work by subtracting things from the one side of it. They have to come from both sides. So the 15 must come from the left side and the right side. Each side, what you do to one side, you must do to the other side. So, you can see on the left side of the equation, the 15 minus 15 just cancels out. That's it. There's nothing else to do with it. It's just gone. It becomes 0. So you're going to have x equals 35 minus 15. You must subtract the 15 from that 35 to get the actual answer. Leads us to our next step, which is actually solving. So you're going to have 15 minus 15 on the left side equation, which cancels out, and you just are left with x. Then on the right side of the equation, you have 35 minus 15, which when you do the simple subtraction of that, leaves you with 20. Therefore, our answer is x equals 20. In order to check that, you can plug 20 back in for x, and you can get 15 plus 20 equals 35. It works. Therefore, x equals 20. Now, let's try another one. If we did addition that time, we're going to do subtraction this time. So x minus 20 equals 5. It's going to be the same kind of process to get that x alone on this side. But if we were adding last time, and in order to get x alone, we had to subtract. If we're subtracting this time, in order to get x alone, we're going to have to add. So in this scenario, we're going to have to take 20, and we're going to have to add 20 to it to get x alone. So as you can see here, we're going to have x minus 20 equals 5, and we're going to have to add 20 to both sides. So 20 plus 20 on the left side, again, is going to cancel out. It's going to leave us with 0. So it'll be x minus 0 equals 5 plus 20. Now, subtracting 0 is just nothing. It doesn't change the number at all. It's just going to stay x. So, we can go down one more slide, and we're going to have x minus 20 cancels out and leaves us with x minus 20 plus 20 cancels out and leaves us with 0. It's just going to leave us with x. Then on the right side of the equation, we're going to have 5 plus 20, which gives us 25. This leaves us with the answer of x equals 25. To check that, you can plug it back in and have 25 minus 20 equals 5. So it works. 25 is our answer. Now, we're going to go to our next type. Now this time we're multiplying. So 5 times x equals 50. Because when x is right next to a number, it's essentially just a multiplication. 5 times x equals 50. Now, addition is the opposite of subtraction. Subtraction is the opposite of addition. What's going to be the opposite of multiplication? You got it. Division. So, we're going to divide each side of the equation. Again, each side of the equation has to be done. Going to divide each side by 5. Just like this. So, 5x divided by 5 is equal to 50 divided by 5. Pretty simple, right? You can go down here. These 5s will cancel each other out, leaving us with just x. On the right side, 50 divided by 5 is 10. Now, again, that'll leave us with x equals 10, and again, if you want to check that, plug it back in. 5 times 10 equals 50. Right? Great. Good job, guys. I'm sure you got that on your own without me walking you through it because you're all a very smart bunch. Alright, let's move on. Let's get a little bit more detailed with it. Let's dig deeper. When solving equations, there could be some that have multiple mathematical properties in one. For example, 4x plus 12 equals 20. Alright, takes a little bit longer to get, but it's the same process, and I'm going to show you guys that, alright? So we're going to try it. 4x plus 12 equals 20 is our problem. Where do you think we start? Right, subtracting 12 from both sides. Both sides, again, stays the same. So, 4x plus 12 equals 20. You're going to subtract 12 from both sides. So, it's going to cancel out. The 4x plus 12, the 12 will cancel out and leave you with just 4x. 20 minus 12 leaves you with 8. So you're going to end up with 4x equals 8 because of the canceling. Next step from that, right, dividing. 4x divided by 4 equals 8 divided by 4. Because again, it's multiplication like we just did in the previous problem. So you have to divide because it's the opposite of multiplying. You're going to divide the 4's, and it's going to leave you with just x on the left because those 4's will cancel out. And then on the right side, you're going to have 8 over 4. So 8 divided by 4. What does that equal? Perfect. 2. Which leaves you with the answer of x equals 2. Now you're going to plug that back in and check it again. So you're going to have 4 times 2 plus 12 equals 20. Does that work? 4 times 2 is 8 plus 12. What is that? 20. Exactly. So 4 times 2 plus 12 does indeed equal 20. Therefore, 2 is x. Good job, guys. So, that concludes our lesson for today. I told you I would keep it quick. We're going to work on that again tomorrow. So, prepare yourselves for that. Just get some practice in. Maybe go through and redo the practice problems. Nothing too hard. It's not going to be a super in-depth worksheet. It's going to focus mainly on what we learned in the first portion of today's lesson. Okay, guys? So, for tomorrow, I want you to practice, practice, practice. The only way to get better at solving equations is to practice them and do a lot of them, okay? So be prepared to solve these kinds of problems in class as we're going to be doing a worksheet involving them. But it's not just any worksheet. I think you're going to enjoy it. Also, give the problem at the bottom of this a try and bring it into class, and we will go over it as a class. And for those of you who get it correctly, I will give you extra credit. So there's an incentive. Extra credit. Who doesn't love extra credit? We're going to be starting them tomorrow at this time in our lesson. Alright, guys? So, enjoy the rest of your beautiful fall day and get out there and have some fun. See you guys later.